guys, welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. As you all know, we've been looking at this year as a whole in boxing, and this time it is about our fight of the year for 2021. Now, I don't know if Ben's going to agree. For me, it's about the whole package, the quality of the fight, the shots landed, the drama. I want to see knockdowns. I want to see it all. And for me, only one fight really sprung to mind, and that's Fury Wilder 3.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's a fight I didn't want that turns out to be the fight of the year for me. And I made it clear I did not want a third Wilder Fury. I was bored of it.
Same.
But God, did it deliver. It's not just knockdowns. They both knocked each other down. It was Wilder, first round, Wilder came out and he proved he can box for 3 minutes. And he looks all right. And then he was like, yeah, let's see what happens. Fury got the knockdown. Wilder got 2 knockdowns in 1 round. The Fury went on to dominate. But we were watching that together. We did a few lives, didn't we, building up to it. And I'm glad we weren't live when we was watching it because I could not sit still. I had to stand up and pace up and down the room because I didn't know what was going to happen. I just couldn't sit still. And for me, boxing is about being on the edge of your seat, not knowing what's going to happen. Before it, you could be 100% sure, but during it, you doubt yourself. And everybody doubted themselves in that fight. And I just think it had it all. And it was brilliant. And it wasn't just fight of the year. It was one of the best fights I've watched in a long time. I think I go back to Klitschko AJ, the last time I was proper up and down in a fight. And now it's got to be. It's not even, I'd argue with anyone about this fight of the year.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, Ben. You hit the nail on the head. As you said, Wilder came out and boxed much like your sexual performance, 3 minutes. And what a 3 minutes it was. Everyone was satisfied.
I won't go that
far. Time for a cuddle.
Get along.
And then, in fairness, Fury came back, didn't he? And that for me. And I think we said it at the time. I can't remember if we said it on a live or just to each other. That was when Fury showed how good he really is, because he's faced with something completely different, and after 20 rounds, 19 rounds, whatever it is they shared previously, this was a different proposition completely. And, couple that with, we knew he'd had a very disrupted camp with obviously his wife having the newborn baby who unfortunately then had health complications. And we know she's all good now, so thank God for that. But, we knew he'd not trained properly. And I think you could sort of see that in his look as well. Not that he's ever been sort of muscle bound and chiseled, but he didn't look in as good a shape as previous fights, did he, in fairness? And he had to go to the well in that fight, and that's what I love to. That's what I'm talking about. That is the drama factor. And Fury and Wilder, in fairness, they both brought it, didn't they? It was all left out on the line.
That's the thing. It's not every fight has this heart, and I think both fighters had heart in it. I think Wilder, we take the piss, don't we, about how the second fight went. And he said he wanted to die on his shield. And you know what? He did that. He got up and he fought. And he did get some respect from a lot of people until the end of the fight when he wouldn't show Fury any. But before that point, I think he got a lot of respect from people. I don't think people want to see him end now. They want to see him go against whoever loses with AJ. People don't want this to be the end of Wilder. And that's what was so good. I think both their stock went up from the fight. Everyone, the next day, I'm not bothered that I was knackered. It was well worth staying up for. And everyone said the same. And it was just the heart shown, determination, and good boxing. Then, the way Fury used his weight, it was a good fight. And I must admit, easiest one of all these videos, knockout. I didn't have to think about it. It was just straight away. For me, this was the fight of the year. No, carry on.
No, go on.
I was going to move on to some honourable mentions, unless you had anything else on that fight.
No, I was just going to say it was absolutely fantastic. Would you want to see a fourth one?
No. No, I didn't want the third. I don't want Joe, let's move on. I said it at the time, they took up boxing for 2 years, haven't they? It's kind of like, let's see some other people make good fights and make memories with them. And I think their story's done unless Wilder can work his way up and beat big names. And it's obviously the one to go for, but no, not for me. How about you?
No, not for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, entertainment value, of course you'd want to see it. I will defend them slightly on the 2 years thing because obviously the pandemic, and I don't think their teams helped with that because, in fairness, he was our promoter of the year, Eddie Hearn. He managed to get, Anthony Joshua out. He managed to get Dylan White out. These are all big heavyweights who command big purses. Not as active as he'd like, he's admitted that, but he got them out. Fury and Wilder, was it 18, 19 months they ended up having out the ring between the second and third fight?
Yeah, it was something like that.
So I do think you have to look at the teams there, but we'll move on. Honourable mentions. First one I want to say, if you don't mind, Ben.
Go on.
And I know we agree on it. Parker Chisora 2 from last week. That was an incredible fight. We were supposed to be there with the COVID risks in this country at the minute. We all sort of elected to just not go, but we did watch it at home. And wow, what a fight that was, Ben.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? I think the heavyweight boxing, though, it does bring the excitement because you get the more knockdowns and the other person can get up and just put the other fighter down. But it had heart. And that is what Chisora showed. And at the time when we did the video afterwards, and I said, I felt sorry for Parker. He won the fight with a brilliant performance, but all anyone cared about was Chisora because the way he handled himself and just wanted war, it was brilliant. And again, it was how it made you feel. And I think the adrenaline, everyone watching it had the adrenaline. I think everyone wanted to see Chisora do something amazing towards the end because of that heart. But it was just brilliant. It had it all.
See, I totally agree with you. And I feel a little bit sorry for Parker. Certainly in the immediate aftermath, I totally agree with you. Now, it's a week and a half on or whatever, and we've sort of digested it a little. My reflections on that fight, obviously, what a set of bollocks on Chisora, because that was absolutely incredible. But on the Chisora front now, we're massive fans of his on this channel. I do worry a little bit. There's a very fine line between that war persona, come forward, not giving a shit what happens. And we love to see it as fans. But as fans of his, I don't want to see him go on too long and take too much punishment, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one for a different video, but that's how I feel on Chisora. But on Parker, the best Parker we've seen in 3 or 4 years in reality.
Yeah. He went to fight, and I think that's the difference.
A lot was made of how heavy he came in, 10 pounds heavier. He looked big, the arms, everything was bigger on him. And I'm going to give a massive shout out to Andy Lee, because for me, what he's done with him, and, Tyson Fury, the documentary DAZN have done, guys, if you've not watched that, check it out. It's fantastic. And Tyson Fury pushing Parker to Andy Lee. What they've done, in the first fight, they'd had 6 weeks together. They didn't really get to implement the new things that Andy Lee's taught him. But we saw it this fight. He handled Chisora well. And as much as I'm gutted, and it was great to see Chisora get the final bell, in fairness for me, Parker very, very clearly won that fight. And, it was probably a bit wider than the card suggested, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, and I think the other thing is it takes a good fight to hold your interest for a full 12 rounds sometimes. You can find yourself drifting when they both have a break in the middle, but they did not have a break. And I think that was one of the things that just made it stand out. And I agree. I think the scorecards, there was a bit close considering there was 3 knockdowns in favour of Parker. But no, definitely an honourable mention. Another one for me, Ted Cheeseman versus Troy Williamson. That fight, that was just a war, wasn't it? They both let loose and they had to dig deep. And Williamson, he proved himself. And I loved the little Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn going on into that one as well. I think it added to the occasion. And I think it was a good fight.
Well, in fairness to Williamson, he answered a lot of questions. Because I remember obviously that was the same as Fury Wilder, wasn't it? It was all one night sort of worth of action.
Yeah.
And in our preview, we all backed Cheeseman to win it based off the fact he's been to the well. He's had those wars. He knows he can do it. Williamson, in fairness, I think going into the fight was 16-0, 12 stoppages. If I'm wrong, I apologise, but it was certainly around that. But because he'd been through everybody, we didn't know he could do it. But my God, did he answer that question? And he did a job on Cheeseman in the end, didn't he? In fairness,
do you know what? We did the KO of the year video, and that wasn't on there. And now I'm thinking back, to be fair, it was one hell of a shot that was. And Williamson, he showed his power, and he could go really far. And I think he's got a big year ahead of him if he's managed correctly.
That's always the question. I mean, that's definitely a different topic for a different video. Last one I just want to mention, actually, it was from the same night, October the 9th, Liam Smith and Anthony Fowler. It wasn't a sort of traditional fight of the year contender, but it had it all. It was sort of the seasoned veteran versus the up-and-coming prospect. Although, in fairness, Fowler very experienced from the amateur pedigree. and still 30 years of age. But on the pro scene, obviously, Liam Smith was levels above. And in fairness, I'm a fan of Anthony Fowler, but we did hear him getting written off various other channels and social media posts on the build-up. And certainly early on, Fowler showed he can step up to those levels. And then, in fairness, how Smith came back into the fight after getting the cut, and then obviously got the stoppage, I really enjoyed that fight. So for personal enjoyment, I'll give it that an honourable mention.
Yeah, and I agree. It was a local derby that added to it, wasn't it? Like the pride of Liverpool. And I think the one more honourable mention for me, Natasha Jonas and Katie Taylor at the start of the year, I think it was April. That was a good fight, that was. It was one of those where I don't think I saw a guard. It was just one of them where they both swung at each other. Yeah, there wasn't any knockdowns in it, but it was just they both wanted it so bad. And I think that's one which stands out as well.
Do you know what's going to be fight of the year next year, Ben?
Is it going to be AJ and Usyk?
No, it's going to be Taylor Serrano. You're being silly there. Right, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for tuning in. As always, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we'll catch you on the next one.